Welcome to Theme Weavers, your weekly wisdom for weaving yoga themes into your classes to inspire your students. We're your hosts, Heidi
and Farin.
Welcome to season 2 of Theme Weavers. Farin and I are back with a new season, new themes, new guests, and all of the best resources to help you theme your yoga classes with confidence. We're starting out the season with practical advice on how to theme classes, show up for your students, and hold the space as a teacher when you're going through your own shit. Yes, I said it, S-H-I-T. We'll give you some themes to fall back on that will help support you and your students navigate the hard times that we all go through as humans. In case this is the first episode you're listening to, please check out way back in season 1, episode 2 of our podcast, Theme Weavers, for details and background on the structure of how and why to weave themes through your yoga classes.
Thanks, Heidi. I'm so excited for season 2.
Yeah, me too.
Crazy. Season 2?
Who
would have thought that our passion project was going to make it this far?
I mean, I did. We're kind of like people that do the things that we say we're going to do.
It's so true. It's true. But it's also a little surreal. It's awesome. But it's really cool that people are like actually listening to us and using our inspo sheets to help teach their classes. And then like there are 2 people who actually showed up to your studio to take your classes because they listened to you on the podcast. Like, what?
I know. Do you know what my response was when they came?
I don't remember. Did you tell me?
Yeah. I said, shut up. Like, are you serious? Who told you to do this? And they're like, nobody. We've been listening to your podcast and we wanted to come learn from you in person. And I'm like, no, I don't believe you. Somebody put you up to this.
It's so cool. I'm kind of jelly. I want some podcast listeners to come to my studio.
All right, if you live in California, anywhere near Fresno, go visit Farin. She needs your love.
Come take my classes.
It's kind of badass. You should see her latest Instagram thing that she put up doing like goddess Kali stomps. Like she looks a little possessed in the face. It's amazing.
Just a little possessed.
A little, just like a minor little bit.
Oh, that's funny. Cool. But anyways, let's get on with it. Today's topic is how to teach and theme when you're going through your own shit. We've helped each other a lot, I think, over the past year or so when we've both gone through like really difficult times and had to show up for our students and teach yoga in a way that is actually coherent. But we Marco Polo each other with suggestions and little pep talks, and we help each other get through it.
Yeah.
So today we'll give those same suggestions and pep talks to all of the yoga teachers out there listening who might find themselves in a similar situation.
It happens a lot that like you're just like going through your own crap and you still have to hold space and show up for other people. It's really hard.
It's really hard sometimes. Like I had to do it yesterday and I didn't even know what I was going through. I like honestly was like, why am I so sad? Why do I feel like I need to burst out crying 2 minutes prior to my class? Like, I don't know, but I
think yesterday was a weird day for everybody.
What's going on?
I know. Well, according to the article I got in my email, like Mercury's in retrograde or something like that. But
okay, that's what I was gonna say. Is it something astrological happening that's just like making everyone in a funk?
I don't know. Yesterday was like crazy here too. It was just one of those days. So there's definitely something happening out the atmosphere.
Yeah, has to be.
I agree.
But yeah, I mean, think about it. Like there could be Mercury in retrograde. There could be like something actually bad that's happening personally in your life. Like your dog just died, but you have to teach class. Or maybe you have a close loved one that's in a hospital, but you have to teach class. Maybe there's things going on globally or politically that deeply affect you and you still have to go teach class.
Mm-hmm.
How do you hold it together? How do you even approach teaching? What theme can you use that doesn't discount what you're feeling, but it also doesn't turn into like a trauma dump to bring all of your students down?
Oh my God, I
like,
love that.
Have you ever done that?
I love that phrase. I don't think I've ever heard that. Trauma dump?
A trauma dump?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did you make it up?
Yeah, trauma dumping is a thing. No, it's actually a thing. I can't remember where I first heard it, but
it's such a thing. Yeah. Like, how many times have you just gone to a yoga? Okay, put it this way. Don't put it on yourself for screwing up yet. But like, Have you ever gone to a yoga class and the teacher is just like going on and on about their own crap that they're dealing with? And you're like, why are you? I came here for me and for you. And I feel for you. Like, that all sucks, but like so not relevant to me at all. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that happen. And to be honest, I feel like I've kind of done it in ways, but I realize that I'm going to do it. So I'm like, okay, caveat, or I don't even know if that's the right use of that word, but I'm like, I get up in front of class and I'm just like, okay, listen, rule number one of theming a class and teaching class is do not trauma dump on your students. But let me just tell you what's going on.
Or you're like, but I'm going to break the rules because I can and I'm the teacher.
Exactly. But the thing is, when I do this, when I like share parts of my life that I'm really struggling with, there's always like a point to it. There's a moral of the story. It's not like I'm just going to tell you all my shit and then just be like, okay, now let's practice yoga while everyone's like fucking crying because my life is so shitty. Like, no, there's like an actual yoga sutra that I tie it to, or like, you know, this is what I'm going through. So this is what I learned from this practice. And then I weave it into a theme. So it happens, but it's not intentionally to like bring everyone down with me. It's just to like show people like what I'm showing up with.
I think that what you're describing though isn't necessarily a trauma dump, Farin, because like to me a trauma dump is like, oh, everybody, today I had like the worst thing happen to me. I got into a car accident on the way to teach. My son woke up with strep throat. My dog ran away from home, and my grandmother died 5 years ago today, and I just like can't stop crying. So today we're just gonna like all feel whatever it is that we feel and like work through it. Okay, no, that's like a trauma dump. Okay, but saying like, all right, everybody, good morning. I have to show up and be authentic with you, and I've been going through some really hard times in my personal life right now, and I'm fine. Like, I'm here and I'm fine and everything's going to be okay. But I want to talk about how the practice is part of my own healing. So that way, whatever it is that you go through now or at other points in your life, you can use this part of the practice also to help support you in your healing. So something I've been practicing lately to work through everything is a grounding practice. So for today, whether or not you're going through something or not, we can all benefit from a creation and an investigation of a grounding practice together. So that's what we're going to do, because that's what I can show up for you guys with today. And it's going to be pretty special for all of us to ground together. That's not a trauma dump, right? That's like authentically showing up and using your own experience to help inspire others through their experiences. Do you see the difference?
Yeah, I do. And I like that. So I guess I haven't trauma dumped. I have always had like a lesson.
Well, I also think like for you to show up and be like, hey, today we're going to practice half moon because the moon is in the sky. And like, I'm just feeling so connected to the moon's energy. So for today, we're going to do like moon salutations and be for the moon. When everybody knows that like your kid is really sick in the hospital and they've been contributing to fundraisers because it's really hard for you to be able to survive with the instability of what's going on, they'd be like, what is wrong with this person? Like they're just like not being real, right? So like, you got to balance. Like you don't want to dump on people, but you also don't want to show up totally inauthentic and like not vulnerable at all, because then people just aren't going to connect with you or trust you.
Right. That's all of it, is like, that's why I share, because there is that authenticity part of like, this is what's happening in real life. Like people think that yoga teachers like have all their shit together. We don't.
That's funny. That's so funny.
Yeah, I have like, obviously I'm sharing things on social media. I'm like, okay, cool. My son, his leukemia came back and he's in the hospital, and then he has an infection, and then he had brain surgery and all the things, and it's all on social media. I can't show up to class and just be like, hey, butterflies and rainbows. Like, no, you're right. Like it has to come authentically, and they're going to know that I'm going through shit, whether they follow me on social or not. Like things get said around the studio. There's, like you said, like fundraisers. And
your value is community. And as teachers, you are a part of that community. And so you need to actually be true, real members of a community.
Absolutely. And I think it deepens everyone's practice to have that community aspect and to experience these things together, or like, I don't know, maybe just learn from each other, not just the teacher, but to learn from each other. People share sometimes before or after class. Like what hard things they're going through as well. Maybe it helps create a space that feels safer to do that.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to hold everything to yourself.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So
I totally agree.
yeah.
I think there's this interesting interplay between showing up authentically and honestly, and also not expecting your students to hold on to your baggage. And I think that's the difference,
Yeah.
right? Like, I remember having to teach the next morning after my grandmother passed away. And like, I was not in my body at that point. Like, I didn't really want to be there teaching. I kind of wanted to just go be with my family. But like, I knew I was going to have to take off a different class for the funeral. And like, it just wasn't the day to find a sub. And I had to show up and teach. And I was feeling deep sadness. And I was showing up with a group of people that, knew me as their teacher. None of them happened to be first time students, thankfully, which makes it a little bit easier. And I just remember sitting there and I'm like, so I know I try and have a theme to inspire you with your yogic teaching beyond the mat, but I have to be totally honest with you all. Like, my grandmother passed away last night. It's okay. It was peaceful. She had Alzheimer's. Like, it's actually a blessing at this point for her and for everybody in her life. And it was her time to go. But I don't really have anything to inspire you all with other than the fact that this practice is really deeply healing, because you get to embody a like a connection to your mind and your body. It's an embodiment practice, and together we can breathe and we can create an energy that helps us be able to sit with our feelings and our emotions and not try and schlock them away or make them disappear, and to just be in a space together. And I'm not the only one that's going through anything sad. I'm sure all of you, either now or at other times, have gone through losses, and there's something pretty magical about our ability to still breathe and be in this life when times of sadness. So today we get to do that together. And like, that's all I could offer them. Because I think it would be fake if I was like, let's talk about ahimsa. Like, it just wasn't good for me right then. And that's when we don't feel authentic as teachers ourselves, because it's not in connection with what we're really feeling.
Right. I love that. So I was going to ask you for your Dharma talk for grounding that you helped me with, but I feel like you kind of already gave it. But is there any like expansion that you have on grounding, a grounding practice?
Yeah. So first, I just want to talk about how sometimes as yoga teachers, this is like the pre-Dharma talk, if you will. Sometimes as yoga teachers, we get really distracted with wanting to give our students like the flashiest, most exciting, most interesting asana and thematic experience that we possibly can. And we put ourselves on this like pressure cooker to always do more and better, both to like elevate ourselves. Like, let's be real, we have egos, we're humans too. And also like to make people want to come back, because this is our livelihood also, right? There's an element of, I mean, it's all ego driven, but like, you want your students to like you and to want to come back. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
So we put this level of pressure on ourselves. But when we're feeling out of sorts and we're not ready to share that with people yet because we haven't actually processed it, or maybe it's not something you ever can feel safe sharing with people, whatever it is, our nervous systems are super out of whack. Like, you might be feeling out of your body, or like you're watching yourself try and teach, or like you're not even really looking at the people who are in the room because you're so deep in your mind that you're not even present in the moment. And when that's happening, we really need a practice of grounding for ourselves. And then I can guarantee that that grounding of ourselves allows us to be able to help our students find grounding. So there's never a day that like a grounding practice is not relevant. You can teach a grounding class at any time. And maybe that's connecting to like the root chakra and teaching like a root chakra class, so you can theme it in that way. Maybe it's teaching about an embodiment practice as your Dharma talk, and how yoga is this experience of being able to connect your mind to your body through your breath. And for today, every time that your mind wanders, I just want you to come back to the feeling of your breath coming in and out through your nose, and just notice the temperature, notice the intensity. Like, that helps them ground. Or maybe one of my favorites, when I'm totally out of whack in my nervous system and I want to get my parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest part of me, active, rather than my sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight part, right? So maybe I should take a step back and actually give you a real Dharma talk. Okay. That was like my pretense. So let's say that I'm now in front of the class and I'm going through my own shit, right? And I don't want to talk about it with people, but like, I'm going through something. So I get everybody on their mats to start, and I would welcome them. And then I would say, so for today's class, we're going to do something a little bit different than we might have done before, where I'm not necessarily going to teach you a theme related to the Yoga Sutras or any sacred text, but what I am going to teach you about is your nervous system, how it works, and how we can use this practice to help us feel better in our bodies and experiences of walking throughout our days. And we'll just see how it feels. So we all have inside of ourselves a nervous system that has two different parts. There's our sympathetic nervous system and our parasympathetic nervous system. And if you know this already, super awesome. Welcome back to like psychology class or science class. And if you're not familiar, maybe I can give you some context into what you're feeling inside of yourself at different times. Also knowing that you might be like, shut up, Heidi, stop talking. I'm ready to move my body. So just give me a few minutes. So, you know how as people, when you all of a sudden get this nervous energy where you feel like you just need to like, or like run around or flee, or like you feel paralyzed like a deer in the headlights when a car is coming toward it. All of that is our sympathetic nervous system. And it comes from back in the day when we were cave people and being chased by like a Siberian tiger or something. I made that up. I don't know if there were Siberian tigers back then, but like
a saber-toothed tiger?
That's what I meant. A Siberian is the breed of my cat. Okay. Saber-toothed tiger. Thank you. It takes a village. So you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger and you're like, either I can stand here and stare at the saber-toothed tiger and get eaten, or I can like run away as fast as I can and run up a tree. That's like our fight or flight part of our nervous system, sympathetic. It gets us active to try and save ourselves. But the thing is when that tiger goes away, we need to be able to get our body out of the tree or out of being frozen and come back down like we're putting on a parachute, flying out of the sky to softly land into safety. And that's our parasympathetic nervous system that helps us rest and digest whatever we've gone through. So that way we can then successfully do it again. Now, we're not, most of us, being chased by saber-toothed tigers anymore, but our bodies experience things that make it feel like it is. And it might be like a parent or a loved one yelling at you. It might be a traumatic event. It might be somebody not doing what you want them to do. And so all of a sudden you get activated, right? Like there's different things that can activate us into the sympathetic nervous system, but it's not really necessarily like a physical threat. And we start to get stuck in that sympathetic nervous system and not ever really parachute back down that balance. And yoga is actually like a beautiful practice that can help us successfully strap on our parachute and fly back and like float back down to safety so we can rest and digest. And one of the ways we do that is by recognizing where we are in space and by grounding and being fully present to help us get out of our mind where that sympathetic nervous system is like, woo, 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 and come float back down to like safety. So for today, even if you don't feel activated, this is still a beautiful practice to be able to help yourself connect with. We're going to try and find our parasympathetic nervous system by grounding down into our feet. Your feet are going to be on the ground, whether it's 1 foot or 2 foot. I don't plan on doing any arm balances today. Something will be on the ground of a foot, at least one. And we're going to notice our footprint, each of your 5 toes, the sense of your heel on the inside and the outside and the back, the feeling of your toe ball mound between the toes and the arch, the space between the arch and the bottom of your foot, all of these intricacies of your feet that you might not usually pay attention to, we are going to bring our mind to connect back to. And sometimes I will have you roll forward and then roll back, but I want you to feel your footprint on the earth, every breath that you take, every move that you make. And the beauty of this is that our minds might struggle for this next hour, keeping this connection to your footprint. But you have the beautiful capacity to begin again. So remember all the way back when we first started practicing yoga together or meeting together on this podcast, Sutra 1.1, yoga is now. That's a yoga nusasanam. Now is every single moment. So if your mind all of a sudden is with like the saber-toothed tiger or the groceries or anything else, all of a sudden you can be like, wait, yoga is now. Notice my footprint on the ground. How does my big toe feel? How does my pinky toe feel? And throughout this class, as I'm guiding you through different asana and different postures, I'm going to remind you to come back to your footprint, to feel your feet intentionally grounding you into the earth. Even when the mind is someplace else, can you bring it back to your feet? And this is this practice where today we can ground, we can feel, we can be present, we can try and activate our parasympathetic nervous system so that way we can take that with us off of our mats when we feel like we're being chased by saber-toothed tigers, and we can come back down and realize we're actually safe. Boom.
I love it.
Yeah?
Brilliant Dharma talk. Yes.
And that's what you need as a teacher, right? Because if you're going through your shit, you need to be able to feel your feet on the ground the whole time.
Yeah. I didn't feel that way at all yesterday when I taught class. Oh my gosh. It was like literally like what you said earlier, watching yourself teach yoga. I was like not there. I was like, how is this even happening? And it doesn't feel good to teach
I
that
was
way.
just going to ask you, how did it feel? Like, how did you help yourself get out of it? And then do you feel like anybody noticed that you weren't a typical Farin, typical grounded Farin?
I honestly don't know if anyone realized it, because then after class, you know how all your students are just like, great class, thank you so much, I feel awesome. I'm like, really?
I never really understand that
But
when you're not in it and everybody else is like, that was awesome. It makes me wonder if they're like actually really telling you the truth.
yeah, I'm like, are you lying to me, or did I do better than I thought I did, or
Or is
like,
it
I
really
don't
not
know.
about us and it's really just about them, and you offered them, you still were able to hold space for them even when you weren't for yourself?
I mean, I guess I was able to, but it didn't feel like it to me.
What do you say then to help them come back to their grounding experience or their parasympathetic nervous system? Like, what's your thematic through line that you're going to use, that phrase to drop the hammer throughout class to keep bringing them back and deepen their connection to what it is that you're trying to teach?
Yeah, so I think you kind of already touched on it, of like bring your awareness back to your footprint. So that would be a great one. Another thing I might say is like feel the earth support you in this posture. Maybe notice the texture of your mat. That also brings it back to the footprint, but you can do that with your handprint too. Like just really feel the intricacies of the texture of your mat, or if you're in hot yoga, the towel, whatever it might be.
Yeah,
But just to feel like that grounding, earthy sensation.
I like that. I use classes like that
Yeah.
sometimes with also grounding. That's not feet though, but I'll be like, notice the texture of your clothing on your skin, the feeling of like where there's space and where there's not. Like just bringing them back into their own bodies essentially is very helpful.
Yeah. That is another one that I would say is feel into the sensations of your body and be here. Do you have any others?
Be where your feet are planted.
Yeah.
Be with your footprints. Sometimes teachers will say things like send your breath all the way down to your feet, and I'm always like, can I though? My lungs don't go that well. Like, I know some people like to say stuff like that.
Yeah, I used to say stuff like that, like breathe into your hips, but then I'm like, bro, you can only breathe into your lungs, honestly.
I'm always like rolling my eyes when teachers say that. I'm like, really? Do we know how the breath works? I'm so literal. I'm so literal. Such a literal human. Oh my God. Okay, so I love all of this. And now to connect the practice to real life off of your yoga mat, right? Because the practice does not end as soon as you wrap up your mat. It's just like the beginning in reality. We like to offer a conclusion to class so they can take the lesson with them as they walk throughout their day. Farin and I called that something special last season. Do you remember?
Amrad talk, because it's reverse dharma.
Yeah, that's how we do our conclusion. We're going to trademark it. You better watch. In this class, at least, for our conclusion, our Amrad talk, I might say something like, the ability for us to be in control of where our minds goes is a really powerful way for us to be able to choose to help activate our parasympathetic nervous systems. So at times throughout your day when you're feeling ungrounded or like you're living in your head or out of your body or whatever it is that might leave you anywhere but actually here in the moment, I invite you to come back to this grounding practice, whether it's in your socks or in your shoes or barefoot, inside or outside. Like really intentionally take a breath in, plant your feet into whatever it is that they're touching, and notice your complete footprint on the earth. And that's how you ground, to help bring you back down, bring you into the moment, out of your mind, out of the future, out of the past, out of feeling like you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, and in the moment, grounded and connected. So next time that you're feeling in your mind, I invite you, take a breath, Feel your footprint.
That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
That was like perfect.
Thank you. I mean, it just came from within me. Just felt my feet.
I could tell.
That's how I work. That's
Yeah.
how I operate.
I love it. I love it. That's why you're such a great teacher. That is why people who listen to the podcast scoped you out, found your studio, and came and practiced with you. Yes.
Thank you. That's very sweet, though. But it's really just from my heart, because these are the things that I practice to learn to try and stop reacting and just be in a like grounded response. It's the only thing that works for me, really, to just and ground.
Yeah.
All right, so that's one example of a theme you could teach when you're going through some shit. But Farin, I know we've talked about several more over Marco Polo before. Do you have another example?
Yeah. So, yeah, I thought like this is the first episode of season 2. So let's give like a double dharma talk. Like let's have a couple different options.
Too bad there's no day of the week that starts with a D. So it could be like our Tuesday double dharma doc.
Tuesday.
Tuesday double dharma doc. I'm done. All right. Bring it, Farin.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So this is actually what I ended up teaching last night, coincidentally. I was really trying really hard to get into my body and hold the space as a teacher, even though I was going through shit that I didn't even know what I was going through. There's a lot of stress in my life, but I couldn't pinpoint like exactly what thing was like setting me off. But there's just, there's a lot going on. So this is what I taught, how I taught last night. It's somewhat along the lines of ahimsa, nonviolence, but especially to yourself, like not harming. So instead of like judging yourself and thinking like, why can't I just be in my body? Like, why am I like almost crying in tears? Like, what the hell is wrong with me? To instead have some self-compassion and think of the hour during yoga practice as self-care. And to constantly think of how you can adjust physically and mentally in each posture to make it feel the best in your body and feel the safest in your body. Gosh, I don't even remember what my dharma talk was. But it was something along these lines of like, life will throw curveballs at you. Life is unpredictable. You have to interact with people that you don't get along with. You have to go through situations that are hard, but you have control over your response. So instead of just straight up reacting, how can you show yourself some compassion, realize that you're going through a hard situation, and then respond in the best way that helps to take care of you? So throughout class, we would get into different postures, and then I would be like, cool, what can you micro adjust here physically? Can you, move your hand this way? Can you slide your leg back a little bit? Can you rotate a little bit here? Can you do this? Can you do that? And I could see everyone practicing that in their bodies, like trying little micro adjustments, little movements, little things until they like settled into their spot in their posture. And it was like, this feels good in my body. And I was like, I'm telling you, get into this like one leg child's pose. Do you know what that is?
You mean one leg like abducted out to the side?
Yeah. So it's like a stretch for the inner thighs.
It's like a half straddle. It's like a half straddle with a
half straddle. So I got him into that. And for some people, that's really uncomfortable to have your leg out like that. They're trying to like plant their foot, and some have to be on the inner edge of their foot. And they're like, like it's just crazy in the leg, right? So I was like, okay, cool. I'm asking you to do this posture. It's probably not comfortable, but how can you make it more comfortable? What do you have control of? And so I could see all the adjustments happening, and it was really awesome. And then for some things, I was like, sometimes it's an adjustment of your attitude or your expectation. It can be the slightest little shift of like, it's okay. I don't have to do this posture the way that the person next to me is doing this posture. I can hold compassion for myself, my body, what I'm going through right now, and make that little just mental shift of like, this is fine. Whatever I get into is fine. And that's just a way of practicing some self-care, self-compassion. That was my class.
I love that. And I think the part that really stands out for me is that even in situations where you feel like you don't have any control, there's always something that you can choose to take control over, even when it feels like you have no option. Right. So
yeah,
that is the biggest thing that so many of us feel like we're stuck. we are stuck because this is what's happening to me and there's nothing I can do about it. But there's always something you can do about it. It might not be what's easy or what like you want deepest, but there's always something that you can do and have control over in every situation. And it might just be how you have control over your response or your reaction, or how deeply you send your hips back in space, or how much you plant your foot on the ground. Like there is still something that you can control, even when you feel like there's not. And I love that.
Absolutely.
Especially when times are like super shitty and you feel like there's nothing you can do, right? Like taking it back to even how you opened up this episode. Like when somebody that you love is really sick and you're stuck having to deal with that and you can't take that away, you can be down in the pit, or you can realize what you do actually have control over. And that's your attitude and how you choose to spend your time, whether it's a pity or like I can embrace this special pause that we can be in together and create good memories, even though it's a really shitty situation.
Yeah, like with my son being in the hospital, he had cancer, then he got an infection, and all of these things were happening so quickly. He was like intubated one night in the middle of the night. Like things were just wild. And it's hard to feel like, am I actually in control of anything? Like, no, all this stuff is just happening to us. But what do I have control over? I can arm myself with information about what's going on, about the treatments that he's getting, about what possibilities are. You know, I can Google things, I can research, I can ask questions. I do have control over that. I do have control over my response. Am I just going to sit here and cry, or can I gather information? Can I take care of myself? Can I make sure that I'm eating well and still exercising and moving my body while my son is right here in a hospital bed, so that I can show up the best way for him? I do have that control over that response. In a yoga class, there's like these extremes, I guess, of if you really don't like a posture, if you're really in a situation where you're just like, I fucking hate this posture, get out of it. Like the teacher's guiding you, they're not forcing you, right? You can get out of the posture, and it doesn't matter what other people think about your response or your reaction. You can stand up out of chair pose. Who cares? You can walk out of the room if you need to take a break and catch some air outside. Like, and then come back in. Who cares what other people think? This is what you are in control over. And that's your own body, your own response, and your own thoughts and attitude.
I also just want to add that being that person that's like taken breaks and done stuff and then thinking everybody is thinking less of me when I'm doing it. I've had people tell me after class, like, thank you so much for giving me permission to realize I can do the same thing. And I was like, mind blown. I thought that people were making fun of me and thinking I was a loser, but in reality, I was a winner, and I gave them space to feel the same thing. Like, what?
Yeah.
Total reframe. Okay, I love this. You said a few of your little, not little, they're powerful and impactful. You said a few of your thematic through line phrases already, but I don't know, some other ones would be take the time and space to make this posture feel the best in your body. And like you can even take that deeper, like take the time and space to make this posture feel the best in your body, even when you might not be fully comfortable, right? Like
Yeah.
that's a big piece. Are you being gentle with yourself? Like get them curious, they'll think about how they're feeling. Or find acceptance and compassion for where you are right now, physically and emotionally. And I think another one, you sort of said it, but I don't remember exactly what you said, but like, are there micro adjustments that you can make in this moment to make something that might feel uncomfortable a little bit more welcome in your body? Can you take that level of control?
Yeah. Love it.
Empower them. I love it. So how would you wrap it up?
Yeah, it's just a quick little easy wrap up. Just as you practice your self care and your self compassion on your mat today, you can also take this practice as you move about your day to give yourself all of that same space and time and attention that you need to feel comfortable and best for you in each moment that you encounter. So again, life can throw you curveballs, but you do have control over something. You have control over your response, your attitude, and your physical body. So how can you make those micro adjustments throughout your day to hold compassion for yourself?
I love that. Every time we talk about curveballs, this is going to sound like so lame unless you're a fish fan. The band fish, not the food fish or the animal fish. But a bunch of years ago, like pre-pandemic, maybe like 6 or 7 years ago, John and I, my husband and I, were supposed to go. Fish was having a festival. Like they were having a festival at a campgrounds. John and I rented a camper. We got great, like we entered a lottery, got really great spots for our camper. It was going to be like an amazing 4-day thing. We were going to live out our fish festival dreams. Like I can be my little hippie out in the sunshine. It was going to be great. Well, we get the camper, we get it all set up and packed up. We're ready to leave. And just as we're getting ready to leave, Fish announced that because of the rain, like people were already there. Because of the rain that had been happening in Watkins Glen in New York, where it was going to be, the water was all contaminated and they couldn't get enough drinking water in safely for the festival to go on for its entirety. And so
Oh my
it was
God.
canceled. And we were like, what? We've been looking forward to this for like a year and a half. We have the camper. We can't return the camper. And it turned into this whole big like fish community. Like we got a curveball and we can choose to be really angry and have a camper and do nothing with it. Or we can realize that life gave us lemons and we can make lemonade out of it. And so we drove our camper to Burlington, Vermont still. The family that was going to take our kids took the kids. We tried going to some bluegrass festival and I was like, I don't want to be here. I wanted to be at Fish. I don't want to be at a music festival. So we kept going. We parked the camper at a hotel. We checked into a hotel. We spent the weekend in Burlington, Vermont in a hotel. And we kept finding like random fish fans that had headed to Burlington, Vermont. We're like, curveball lemonade. Like, that's what I'm thinking about, right? Like we had a choice. We could wallow in self-pity that what we really wanted wasn't going to happen, or we could grab life by the lemons, if you will, squeeze them and make some really sweet, awesome memories and lemonade.
Squeeze them lemons.
Grab them. All right. So anyway, that's what I was thinking about every time you said curveball.
I love it. That's hilarious.
I know.
So yeah, if you need a reminder of some of the themes that we talked about today, or the practices, the tools that you use when you're going through life's challenges and you still need to teach, then you can download our pretty inspo sheet. That'll be found at themeweaversyoga.com/episode 26, where we list out additional inspiration and resources. On that sheet, I'll also have some inspirational quotes, songs, mantras, mudras, pranayama, postures, and meditations to weave into your classes.
That's awesome. And teachers, if you're listening to this and have other methods of how you show up and hold space for your students when all you really want to do is be taking care of yourself, let us know. And maybe we'll have you on as a guest. We would love that, to hear your challenges that you went through, because we only know what we know for ourselves and we learn from each other. It's all about community. So share your ideas with us also. We'd love to hear them.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that these, like what we shared today, it doesn't like lead up to a specific peak posture or anything like this. Can be taught in any type of class, any style of class. It's one of those like back pocket. This is like the emergency back pocket theme when you're just like, I can't teach. How do I do this? This is like emergency back pocket theme.
Yeah. And when you're using your emergency back pocket theme, I usually have my emergency back pocket sequence that I use also. So it's like just whatever sequence that, like when I feel totally uninspired to connect with the physical body at all, like I don't even have to think. I know this sequence so well. And for me, it was like my graduation sequence that we learned in our chromatic yoga teacher training. Like that is like, I don't even have to think. I've done it so many times. And as a mentor for like the chromatic yoga teacher trainings, I've seen it being taught so many times, like hundreds of times. I don't even have to think. I automatically peek to Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana B, working on the strength of your abductor muscle group and retraction of the scapula. And like, boom, I don't even have to think. Like the whole sequence is just there. And I just keep coming back to the feet, right? Like I'll keep cueing the feet. Feet, feel your feet, feel your feet. I don't even have to think. Like you need to have an emergency. All teachers, if you don't have one, let us know. We'll help you. Like we'll share ours. There's no like property here. Like share with each other. Have a sequence you don't even have to think about. Have a theme you don't even have to think about. So that way you can just show up and hold space for other people and ground yourself.
Yes. Love that.
Grounding is so important. All right. So hopefully this helps you all when you're scheduled to teach. You can't find a sub. Good Lord, those subs are so important, but sometimes we can't find them. And you have to still show up authentically and hold space for your students through your personal struggle. I hope we can help you with that. So please go to our website, themeweaversyoga.com/episode 26. The link is also at the bottom in the beautiful show notes. And request our inspo sheet for how to teach when times are really hard and you have to show up anyway. And please, please, please reach out to us on Facebook, Instagram, or email, or just like show up at our classes, because that was pretty amazing. And let us know how it lands. Farin really wants somebody to show up for her. So show up for Farin, everybody.
Yeah.
We're here to support you, fellow yoga teacher, in your class preparation and delivery. So let us know how we can be of most support. And if you don't mind, I just want to put a small plug in. If you are in the Massachusetts or New England area and you are around April 28th, Yoga Reaches Out is a huge fundraiser for Boston Children's Hospital that I've been involved in for many years now. And we get together and we raise funds for the hospital with a day-long yogathon. So this year I'm one of the lead teachers. I'm teaching first at 8:30 in the morning. I'm opening us up with a theme and some gentle movement of the body to get us going. And I'm also going to be a part of the ending where we're doing a surprise kirtan. I guess it's not a surprise if you're listening to this. Instruments are coming out. Get pumped. And it would be amazing. Our team so far, Team Heidi Kasner Yoga, has raised over $23,000 as of this morning for the hospital.
Wow.
It's amazing. So if you're around and you want to come, be a part of it, join the team. If you want to donate, look me up. You can donate also, but it would just mean a lot. It would be pretty cool.
I'll put the links in the show notes as well and on the website so that, people can donate. So that is happening on the 28th in 10 days.
Yeah, Gillette Stadium where the Patriots play. Then check out the links. It's pretty awesome. And if you just even want to check out my story with my son, that's there too. On my website, actually, there's a whole video where I shared the story last year at the same event. Farin can link to that too. Okay. Anyway, tune in next week for another episode of Theme Weavers, where we will help you feel prepared to go on and inspire your students in your next class. If you're unsure on the structure of how to weave your theme throughout the class, please feel free, as always, to go back and listen to Season 1, Episode 2, Why Weave, the importance of threading intention into yoga for your background and inspiration. And until next time, Farin.
We weave you in peace.
Peace.
Season 2, same tagline.
Woo-woo.